Hi, this is Julie. I think I'm starting. This is Julie at Love's Beginning, and today I'm going to talk about annoyance. And I got the perfect example right before I started. I had the opportunity to be annoyed. I'm even getting it right now because I tried to set this shot up, but I like being in the middle, compulsive much, and I'm not really in the middle. So there it is again. But I'll just go to the first thing that came up. I was clearing my throat. I felt like my throat was clogged a little bit. And I thought, well, before I make this video, I feel annoyed about that. Let's go into what I feel is being queued up to be said here, and see if it holds true. So the basic message of today is that our annoyances help us because they help us locate where we're holding on to something dysfunctional. And dysfunctionality is shared amongst all of us. So why do we have wars? Why do we have prisons? Why do we have all this stuff going on that we don't like? It's because of the dysfunctionality that we as a collective hold on to because we believe it's functional. Like, if I know what annoys me, I can plan my life to keep those annoying things away from me. That would be the way we look at it as a functionality. But there's another functionality in annoyance, and that is that it points exactly to where we're holding on to something that we don't need. And if we look a little deeper beneath the annoyance, instead of feeling victim to something, like I'm victim to my throat feeling a little clogged, and from there I might go into, oh, I didn't drink enough, or, find a reason, a physical reason for why I'm victimized by this condition. It's very minor. I'm calling it an annoyance, but we still have these thought patterns about every event. So, what, there it goes. I'm um, looking down into, so what's that highlighting for me? Well, what it's highlighting for me is like a nervousness. I wouldn't want anything to go wrong in a video. I'd want it to be set up right. I wouldn't want to stumble and fall or be embarrassed, right? So do you want to let that fear go today, would be what our non-physical presence that's always with us, that's always here to aid us, would ask us. Do you want to hold on to this feeling of annoyance and find a physical reason for it, or find a person who's the cause of it, whether it's you or somebody else or an institution or something? Do you want to find a reason in the world for this, or and try to fix it and make your whole life about fixing things on the level of the world, on the level of the physical? Or would you really like to let this go today? Would you like to let go the fear you have of something going wrong? And then it gets bigger than that. It gets much bigger than something going wrong. When I'm making a video, it's like I'm being asked, would you like to let that fear go today of something going wrong? And honestly, I kind of rush in to hold on to that. Like, no, I have to stay in control. I have to prevent things from going wrong. Well, what am I preventing? What am I doing? If I'm trying to stay in charge, I'm trying to hold on and to prevent the flow that would heal everyone and everything. And what would I rather have? Struggle and holding on, or allowing the flow that heals everyone and everything? I think that's a pretty obvious answer. So, our annoyances lead us down this path that takes us to these opportunities where we're being asked these big questions that benefit ourselves and everybody. Do you want to let go of the fear of something going wrong? And when we think of the collective effect of that, it's very beautiful. So, healing's always available to us. We're always surrounded by healers, in the sense that we're always surrounded by beneficent non-physical beings who love us very much and will show us how much we love everybody else too, underneath the surface of things, underneath all the annoyances. So these annoyances bring us the opportunity to dig down deep and make those big changes. How do we make a big change? It may look like we're used to thinking that making a big change means controlling the physical in some way. And um, taking charge of it, making sure something bad doesn't happen, making sure something good does happen. But there's a level much deeper than that that is non physical and telepathic. So when I accept healing from the non physical beings that always surround all of us, there's no exception to that, and say, yes, I will let you mess with my thoughts and beliefs today. And I use that language playfully because when we're aligning with ego, the idea of having our thoughts and beliefs altered, of allowing something fundamental to change, is threatening. But it's only threatening to a sense of separate self, a separate cut off self that needs to manage and control things, a separate cut off self that's pretty scared, actually. But when you go to the truth of yourself, which is the unified self, at harmony with all beings across time and space, and you always have been in harmony, abiding in harmony with all beings across time and space, that's the truth of you non physically. Because you're spirit, you're non physical, and you always have been. I always have been. But we seem to be appearing in this physical and picking things up and putting things down and having these lives and doing all these things. But where is the origin of all the physical we're experiencing? The origin of all the physical we're experiencing is in thought. And there are two sets of thought that we can listen to. There are two radio stations that we can dial into. One is the radio station that constantly reinforces the perception that we are separate entities and that we can harm each other and that we can be harmed. And that is the radio station of ego. And that will keep sending you thoughts. And the thoughts keep you in a stressed out state, a state of having to protect, defend, fight, avoid, all these stress related things. Ego is very stressful. But ego also offers you carrots, like success and triumph and achieving and checking things off your list, and happiness because something good happens, versus unhappiness because something bad happens. Ego's in duality. Ego offers you carrots, but tells you you have to avoid other things too. And then the other set of thoughts we can tune into, the other radio station that can stream thoughts to us, is love. And ego is what we aren't. Love is what we are. Love sends us very specific thoughts and lines of dialogue, kind of like I'm receiving right now. I'm a channel. Actions, suggestions for what to do out of the blue. Go here, do this. You feel like doing this instead of that. The set of thoughts that comes from love, they are not in themselves stressful. But if you're used to referring to ego for your next move, then you might hear a thought of love, go to the park today, but find a reason from ego to not listen to the thought of love. So it's confusing at first because there are these two thought streams and they both seem to be our thoughts, but they pull back and forth. It's conflict. So if we go back to annoyance, what annoyance can do for us is to sound the alarm bell. And so you feel annoyed, that's the alarm. The alarm tells you you have been consulting ego thoughts to guide your next move in this drama we have going on here. It's a healing drama that we're all participating in, and we're going to learn to stop consulting the set of thoughts that leads us to separation perception, and to really start trusting the set of thoughts always available to us, always underneath the louder thoughts of ego that teach us how to be in harmony with one another. If you think about the future of our collective being together in this world, what would need to happen for us to have peace? Something would need to change, right? And if we look at it through the lens of human evolution, I think that symbolism can still work. How can the human evolve? The human can only evolve through thinking differently. And it's not that this set of thoughts I'm talking about, loving thoughts, has ever been absent. The thoughts have always been available to us, like a safety, a lifeline, a comfort in a time of trouble, in a confusing place with conflict. Um, the loving thoughts have always been available to us, but notice how often you trust a stressful thought and you will act on a stressful thought or a fear more than you will trust a loving thought. So it's all about invitation. You're inviting yourself to hear the thoughts of love as the louder ones and the ones that you're going to pay attention to and follow. And when you follow those thoughts and trust those thoughts to tell you who everybody else is and who you are and what you should do next and what you say and what you should say, and you trust those thoughts, you notice how people think, they're my thoughts, like I'm thinking this, I'm thinking that. Really, they're only two sets of thoughts, and ego will send out thoughts to a personality structure like mine that will specifically appeal to my fears. So I will be likely to accept those fearful thoughts on top of other fearful thoughts. That's the way ego is designed. It gives us the experience of separation perception. It gives us the experience of pain and suffering. It gives us the experience of conflict. If you had never experienced that before, you might be curious about what that would be like. And that's what we did. We wondered, what would it be like to not be in harmony all the time? So this experience shows us, what would it be like to not be in harmony all the time? But it's not real. It feels very real. The special effects are great here. We're almost entirely convinced that it's real, but it's not real. What's if ego isn't real? If those thoughts being sent to me don't reflect reality in any way, but keep me moving through an illusory experience, what is real? What is real is what we are and what we've always have been, what we've been the whole time we've been experiencing this illusion together. We are love. And those thoughts are our real thoughts. So if you could think of ego thoughts and love thoughts. And love thoughts, love will send thoughts to the apparently separate personality structure. This is how I will refer to myself today, an apparently separate personality structure, that will appeal to that personality structure that will help you move through the world in a way that you understand. So, no matter what you're currently believing, even if you're believing very conflicting thoughts or very fearful things, the love thoughts can come to you in a way that guides you out of those fears. So, both sets of thoughts are personally designed for you to appeal to you and to help you in a sense. Remember, ego ends in death. The separation perception experience, for you to have the experience of harming and being harmed, you have to be harmed and you have to be ended in the end. You have to perceive yourself as finite. So ego thoughts give you the experience of being finite, and that's what the experience of death is all about. When I'm talked to about death, I'm often told that we enact the pantomime of death. So that's very interesting to me to contemplate and to look at, that we do just keep enacting death over and over and over again and decline because we believe in it, that our entire thought structure of the human experience is based on that. And to see that everything we experience is based on thought is just, mind-blowing for me, but it's supposed to blow the mind. If we're going to evolve together as beings playing the characters of humans in space and time, if we're going to evolve right out of this illusory experience we're having, emerge, we have to change the thoughts we're listening to. We have to toggle over to the thoughts that are true and to keep listening to those thoughts and speak from those thoughts. And what we feel is our sure guide. So if we're feeling annoyed, it's going to take us right to a particular location in our personality structure where we've been holding on to fear. So if it seems somebody else annoys you, that person's doing you a favor because you're being shown exactly right where you're holding on to fear. and exactly right where in this moment, I know I've said this before, but it feels like every time I go a little bit deeper with it, at least for me. So we're being shown exactly right then that we have the opportunity to let that go instead of holding on to that grudge, holding on to our insistence that what we are is annoyed. The annoyance is just the alert. It's just the alert and it's a very good alert. It gets our attention that tells you you are believing a lie right now. Not just like the idea that I'm annoyed, but if you go a little bit deeper behind the thought of annoyance, and if you want a tool for going deeper behind your thoughts, like, I don't want to cough during my video would be a thought that I had that was associated with a feeling of annoyance that I had before I started making the video. You can go to a tool like Spiri, or you can go to something like the work of Byron Katie. That's self-inquiry. Spiri is an app for Apple devices, but you can also find it on Facebook and then use it in Facebook Messenger. It's just a bot that gives you prompts and then you type in your responses, and it takes you deep, deep, deep down into your thoughts where you can examine whether they're true or not. And as you examine whether or not your thoughts are true, you really break up the perception patterns you have, and they loosen up. And what you start to do is to allow the loving thoughts to have more volume, to feel more trust in enacting the stage directions that love delivers to you. Um, it's very helpful if you're looking to go into the core of a stressful thought and you're willing to put down your blame. Because the first thing we want to do with a feeling that's uncomfortable is find a locus of blame and find it outside of ourselves, because it's painful. It feels painful to hold the pain here, and so we try to put it out there to feel better. But if we don't do that, instead, if we stay with it and we realize we're having an opportunity, and maybe even use a tool like the self-inquiry to explore what we're really thinking, what we're really holding on to, what's true, what's not true, we can start to allow the ego thoughts to fade so they don't even bother us anymore. We're getting to a point now where we don't have to listen to the stuff that's untrue anymore. It's not who we are. It's not something we want to use to build up a personality structure that's not necessary. But the thoughts coming from love are very useful to us, very helpful, and they always lead to good outcomes and feelings of resolution and cooperation and harmony and all the good stuff. Um, and right now in my life, love's thoughts are often telling me to do nothing, to sit back, to be quiet, to wait, and to allow things to resolve themselves. So that's interesting. They can tell you to do nothing, but just to have the patience to wait and not to act because you're believing some fearful thoughts about how you have to rush in and fix things. It's very reassuring. So if we'll just allow ourselves to hear the thoughts that are always there for us, they're always there to help us, and they're always so helpful. So the next time we're annoyed, we can remember we're being given an opportunity for healing. We can take that opportunity right then, as long as we don't blame it on the world or anybody else. And when we take that opportunity for healing, when we accept it, that healing is shared immediately, mind to mind. So we've done a very good thing for everybody. I hope that helped you. As usual, it always helps me. Thanks.